Well, the Bureau of Land Management's Bishop Field Office in the United States Forest Service, Inyo National Forest, they signed the Records of Decision, and that was on Monday, approving a new 40-megawatt geothermal project near Mammoth Lakes. Now, according to a press release, under the terms of the Records of Decision for the Environmental Impact Statement, Environmental Impact Report, the Casa Diablo 4 geothermal development project will be built on lands administered by the Inyo National Forest and on private lands within 4 existing federal geothermal leases. Now, the project will include construction of a new geothermal power plant, up to 16 new production and injection wells, multiple pipelines, and an electric transmission line. Now, Ormat Nevada Incorporated will develop the project on public and private land, and the project will generate more than 180 construction jobs. When completed, the project would produce enough energy to power 36,000 homes. Now, BLM's review of the project began with scoping meetings in 2011, and no changes were made to the final EIS-EIR released in July 2013. Now, the document was jointly prepared by the BLM, Inyo National Forest, and Great Basin Unified Air Pollution Control District in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act and the California Environmental Quality Act. Now, the cooperating agencies identified Alternative 3, the modified pipeline alternative, as the agency preferred alternative in the final environmental document. This is because of its reduced environmental impacts relative to the applicant's original proposed action. The press release goes on to state that the agencies will issue separate decisions as described in the final EIS-EIR. The Great Basin Unified Air Pollution Control District is expected to adopt a resolution certifying the final EIR later this summer. Now, said Bishop BLM Field Office Manager Steve Nelson, quote, "In approving the Casa Diablo geothermal project, BLM is helping advance California's goal of the state generating 1/3 of its electricity from renewable sources by 2020 and to bring desirable jobs to the Eastern Sierra region," end quote. Inyo National Forest Supervisor Ed Armena said, quote, "Release of the Record of Decision for the Casa Diablo project is the culmination of an outstanding cooperative interagency effort that involved extensive public involvement and participation," end quote. Electronic copies of the BLM and Inyo National Forest decisions for the Cabra Diaso 4 project are available on the internet, and then go to the website blm.gov/ca. Also, CD-ROM versions or hard copies may be obtained by visiting or contacting the BLM Bishop Field Office or the Inyo National Forest at 351 Posse Lane in Bishop. Copies will also be available at the Mono County Library in Mammoth Lakes on Sierra Park Road. If you would like to get some more information, you can contact 760-872-5024. Well, Bennett Kessler filed this following story. The Southern Inyo Solar Ranch, which is the project proposed by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, has raised questions about taxes that DWP might pay and to whom. Now, DWP is the biggest taxpayer in Inyo County, owning the lion's share of private land. County Assessor Tom Lanshaw said Inyo assesses DWP's land and water rights. The values are calculated by a state law Los Angeles managed to get passed back in 1968. It's called the Phillips formula, and it's a different assessment rate from all the rest of us. LADWP pays around $17 million per year to Inyo County in property and water rights taxes. Now, according to the Tax Collector's Office, DWP pays nearly $7 million of the $17 million for water rights. Now, the new solar project raised the question of property taxes and sales taxes. California voters mandated that solar projects not be taxed. Now, this was originally for rooftop solar projects. Now, the no property tax rule seems to apply to massive projects like DWP's 200 megawatt, 1 million solar panel plan. Now, Assessor Lanshaw said that LADWP paying sales tax on materials to Inyo could be an option. He pointed out that Inyo County negotiated that kind of deal on the Bright Source solar project that did not go forward. The assessor has no control over sales tax payment. The Inyo County Board of Supervisors would have to negotiate that. Officials now say that LADWP insists the sales tax money has to go to the city of Los Angeles, so the project will not mean tax benefits. In fact, it could mean tax loss. The term sheet says, quote, due to the limited amount of housing in the Southern Owens Valley, increased demand for housing could displace residents, temporarily elevate costs, and result in construction of new housing and long-term depressed values, i.e. boom-bust cycle. Workers' use of hotel and motel rooms could displace tourists and decrease transient occupancy tax revenues, end quote. Now, LA has offered several things, $4.5 million to cover county costs, which falls short of the county's estimated costs of $6.1 million. A $2 million low-interest loan for housing, expansion of the feed-in tariff program that pays people for generating solar energy, and energy programs for the schools. Well, speaking of schools, it's already time for the kids to get back, and the Bishop Police Department asking motorists to drive safely as the young students will be back in session starting on Monday, August 19th. Now, a press release from the Bishop Police Department states that during this time, officers will conduct high visibility traffic enforcement in and around school zones for all traffic violations, particularly speeding and cell phone violations, as well as failing to follow instructions of the crossing guards. Now, the Bishop Police Department encourages parents to take time to talk to their children about safety before school starts, whether they walk or ride the bus or travel by car. Talking to your kids to help ensure they get to school and back safely would be a great help to the Bishop Police Department. Now, the Bishop Police Department also offers some tips for car drivers and passengers, including pay attention. Distracted drivers endanger lives. Cell phone use while driving is against the law. And parents in a rush to drop off children at school are the most common violators of school zone speed laws. Everyone obviously should and is mandated to wear a seatbelt. Make sure babies and young children are in safety seats at all times and that safety seats have been properly installed. And remind teenagers to take extra precautions if they are driving to school or riding with another teenage driver. Now, some tips for pedestrians from the Bishop Police Department. They encourage students walking within walking distance to follow stop signs and other traffic directions and pay attention to the directions of the crossing guards. Never walk alone. Always travel with a buddy, and do not stop to talk with people you don't know. And walk, don't run. Never run across streets or sidewalks, and pay attention to the locations of the crossing guards and tell them if you need help. And also, small children should know and be able to recite their name, address, and phone number, as well as the names of their parents. And parents should ensure that school records accurately reflect current contact information. Now, Bishop Police say following these precautions can help us all to get the new year started off on a safe and happy start. And if you would like some more information, please don't hesitate to contact the Bishop Police Department for more information at 760-873-5866. We'll be back with more news.